for like about, and I was running out of time for when it had to be ready. So he said, come here, we have an extra bench, you'll work here and we'll help you. That was the beginning of a 6-year apprenticeship. And I owe so much to him in terms of what I learned. I mean, I was just, you know, I sat, I worked, my ears and eyes were open 24/7 kind of, you know, I just absorbed everything. I didn't do any work for him, it was for myself. So I started meeting clients in my house and getting commissions, and I'd go to him and say, well, you know, this person wants a pair of earrings and I'm taking the diamonds out of this ring. And he goes, okay, he says, he hands me a pad and he says, fill it, sketch, fill it. And I'm like, fill it. So, you know, all these things really helped form my design aesthetic. And it's very natural when you start and you're learning something that you sort of take the aesthetics of the person that's teaching you. And it takes a while till you find your own. And, you know, that's all a process. But it was, you know, I was working in silver at the time, and he said to me, you should work in gold. I said, I can't afford it. So he says, no, for this work, you need gold. You start small. So I did. And learning how to work in gold is a little bit different from silver. And by the way, I am a full-fledged goldsmith, so I actually did make everything by myself, by hand. I don't anymore, but I do all the designing, and I have a jeweler on site, so it's always a collaborative experience. Where am I? So after my basement, I moved to a first studio on Queen Mary Road. It was in a lower floor of an apartment building that they set up. And that was a big move for me. Around the same time, I had a baby just before. And I also started teaching at Sadie Bronfman Center at the time. And I was head of the jewelry department there for 12 years. So I did a few courses, did work on my own, was a mother. All of you know, us women can do anything, right? Then in 1990, I moved to Green Avenue. And it's been like home. Actually, I probably spend more hours there than I do at home. Along the way, I entered numerous design competition, diamond competitions, etc. And I have a few awards hanging on my wall. But it's been a long time ago. I just don't have the time or the patience for that anymore. So today's lecture, I thought the theme would be inspiration. Because as any artist knows, that's what we're always looking for. And I take my inspiration from a lot of different places. Mostly nature, or a lot nature. And I brought along some pieces to show you from Nature Collection. The website's up there, and I'll go through pieces on there also instead of slides. Architecture is another big one for me. It's the geometry of buildings and design. So in essence, I'm almost making miniature architectural pieces sometimes. Certain gemstones, and I have a pretty big collection of gemstones after collecting for so many years. it's a big weakness. So, you know, in creating something, I'm always looking around. In any case, just in walking down the street, my eyes are always open. In traveling, it's just there's all kinds of little bits and pieces of inspiration everywhere, from door knockers in Paris on those doors, and chain links on fences, old chain links, and just, you know, nature and vines and all kinds of things. So, and color, and I'm always looking. It's kind of goes into the subliminal and eventually comes out. Creative process. So whether if I see a client that wants a special piece, and they want either, as you said, upcycling. So either they bring in old pieces and the stones are still good, but the piece is dated or it's broken, etc. And I'll take a look at it and determine if the stones are worth using again. And then we start the creative process. So it's a little bit of psychology. Psychology, by the way, my schooling was, my bachelor's from McGill was in psychology. So, you know, I'll size up the person. Is it, you know, do you want something casual? Do you want something with more flair? Or you want something every day? Or is it a dressy piece? And see what kind of, you know, what will suit that person. And we'll go, so I'll make suggestions and we'll go through that. If it's something for myself that we're doing for stock and it's from a certain stone that I have, I'll just, you know, I'll just get some ideas and play around with some sketches and different stones, or some things in my head that I want to do. Sometimes it doesn't always work right away. It just doesn't always come. So I'll start with something, but nothing, I'm not happy with anything. I'll put it away. I've put stuff away sometimes for 2 years when it just, like, you know, it just doesn't come. Then take it out and all of a sudden, we'll do this. So that's, you know, it's an interesting thing to do. Then I'll determine how we're going to make this piece. So we do a lot of handwork, hand fabrication, which is extremely rare today and getting rarer all the time. There just aren't people around that know how to do the old fashioned, I'll call it, handmade jewelry. So we do all our own alloying. I start with pure gold and I use 18 carats. So I mix it with other minerals, depending on other metals, depending on what color gold I want. So we'll do yellow gold, and we do rose gold and white gold. Then I'll determine, is this piece going to be made by hand, or is it going to be a lost wax? So sometimes when there's a lot of volume to something, it's better to do it with wax. We'll take a big block of wax and then it's hand carved. Sometimes it's a combination of the two. You'll start with something and you know, add in handmade pieces. So it's a very interesting process, and you have to know all the things we learned in school that we thought, what am I ever going to need that for? Math, geometry, chemistry, physics, all that. You know, it's essentially metallurgy. You're working with metals. You have to know, you know, you're heating them. You have to know all that stuff. Geometry, scale. When we do something by hand, and we have lots of measuring tools, and I'm always checking, is it straight? You know, is something off? Because that's, like, you know, one thing that's off and it throws the whole thing off. And besides, when you're making a precious jewel, it has to be perfect. It has to be precious. So sometimes, and I'm going to go in here now. These are earrings. Oh, it says earrings, and there's a pair. Where was I? As you can see, there's lots of different stones that I use. I'm just going to scroll slowly. Stop me if you have any questions on anything. I'm going to go. Yes. My coiling. Okay. Yes. So that's sort of my trademark. And that's going back to Stephen Brixner in San Diego, because it's essentially a basketry technique, or it started off as a basketry technique. And that's what really attracted me, because it is a textile technique in essence. And that always has to be completely handmade. So what we do here, and I don't even think I brought a piece with coil on it. No, I have my ring. I'll pass around my coil ring that's kind of beat up, but just pass it around. I start off with inner wire, core wire. And again, we do the alloying, and then we make the wire. We make the wire, or we make the sheet. So I pull the wire, it's pulled through a draw plate, and you pull it down to the measurement that you want. So you get like the wire, you pull the wire. We make the wires. So I'll melt the gold, and it's melted into an ingot, like a long bar. And then I have a rolling machine, which kind of looks like a big industrial pasta machine in essence. So if it's square, if it's wire, there's an area for wire. So I start, and you roll it till it successively gets smaller in diameter. Thanks. Smaller in diameter and longer in length. So I get the measurement that I need for the inside of this. And then we take the wire and pull it some more, because the outside wire is much smaller. And then I just start winding. I start wrapping the fine wire over the inside wire. So all the pieces here look like a spring, but there's solid wire inside. So it's really very strong. So I wrap it with the fine wire, and then we form it. And we form it, and it takes very many forms. You know, it's usually organic, but it can also be just circular. Let's see. Here it's just an accent. I'm going to go into necklaces. So here's some. So what techniques in the scarf? Is that mesh? No, it's beads. They're diamond cut, faceted white zircon beads. I was going to show you this one here, back to my nature sea urchin. And I brought an example of a ring I did. So what I did there was somebody had given me all these sea urchin shells. And I no, I didn't go diving, but I cast it, and I just had to fix it up a little bit, and it worked. So I've done that in a number of pieces, and I'll show you that after when we get there. For plastic with bronzes, you make the same clay that you make the plaster, and you have all these. Exactly. So it's usually we do it in wax. Yeah. So in this case, I've actually put a shell in with the wax, in with the casting. So we do this, it's the same thing, it's lost wax. So you do that, it's the same process, but much smaller, obviously. And sure.
Explain exactly now what kind of wax you're using, what the process is. I know basically what not.
It's a hard carving wax. Yes, yes. So well, the first piece was done in wax. I'm looking for it on the screen, or I'll just pass it around. Hang on. Sorry, I'm going back and forth, but I can't find it. Everything has a story. I was in New York having lunch at Takashimaya, a wonderful store that is since closed. And alongside my sandwich, there were these lotus root chips. And I thought, wow, what a beautiful form. So I tucked a few into a film container, came home, and cast it. And I have a bracelet. I've done it with earrings as well. They're clips, but this one actually, so we cast one piece and then we made a mold. And once you have the mold, you can reproduce. So I'll pass that around too. This one is set with tiny little orange sapphires. So again, here's a starfish, which was also done in the same way. And these acorn earrings, and these were also, we'll start at this end, were acorns. All the flower brooches here we actually did from wax carving. These were not from original ones, but they're pretty true to life.
Get the block of wax, you very carefully carve it.
We file it, we carve it, you mark it off, and you carve it. You have little tools.
Like soapstone carving with wax.
Kind of. It was all different tools that you can use for that. I'll pass it around over here. It's the original texture from the acorn. That's what's so fabulous about it.
So you get the mold.
Make the mold.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. But the molds are, I mean, it's jewelry. So the molds are maybe this size. They're rubber molds. And then we have a knife and we cut them open, and often a lot of these pieces that I find have to be fixed up a little bit from the casting because they don't come out perfectly.
Because the varnish of the plastic is not polished, so the rubber would be polished.
These are my latest, and I'll pass these around also. So this summer we were in Puglia in Italy, and the place we were staying at had this wonderful old olive tree. And every day I'd pass and I'd see all these wonderful olive leaves on the floor, on the ground, just curled up in all different shapes. So again, I took a container and I filled it with these olive leaves. And we came home and we cast them. And if you look at the texture and turn it around, you can see, and this one has a pair of mixed olives, mixed colors at the bottom. But it's just amazing what you can do with things like that.
These are pearls?
Yes, they're Tahitian pearls.
Oh,
Hawaiian?
Oh, I went to Hawaii in 2017. These were like $10.
Okay.
And I should have bought like 20 pairs. Or 20.
This is just some of my newer pieces. But again, this bracelet, that's what I'm trying to find here. That's what I'm trying to, that was an old piece of amber that I had bought from somebody, and it used to be a brooch and it had things hanging. So I took the hanging things off and I was left with 3 holes, which I filled with rubies. You know, what better? And it just, there's so much inside that amber, and it was like, you know, living at one point. It's just, thank you. So that, I don't know if you could see it here. I don't think you can see it right here. There's a hinge. So it opens, there's a spring hinge. It opens and then you put it on and then it shuts. Again, all handwork, all kind of meticulous handwork. And with all the mechanics that we do, it's not just, I mean, it's the know-how of how to put it together, but you know, sometimes it takes several times because you'll get there and somehow it's just not springing or it's not closing properly. So it's a meticulous, time-consuming job to get it right. That was really great. Carved coral. In 2000, I was asked to be one of 4 people on the design team to design a collection for the Royal Canadian Mint. Any of you familiar with the collections at that time? No. So there was this woman who was the CEO of the Mint at the time, and she wanted to start a jewelry collection. So from Canada, it was myself and Roger Luca. And I designed the Poppy collection, which is some of the pieces that are here still. And they kind of bungled the whole thing. Government.
Yeah.
I mean, it was just quite an eye-opener.
200 functionaries.
Well, it was really crazy. I shouldn't even tell these stories. Okay, I won't. Yes, it moves and it's a double layer, so every connection is sort of on a ring on the main thing. So it really, there's a lot of movement in it. I could see you wearing it. Yes, yes. That was quite a feat, quite a job to do this piece.
So the end, the bottom would be 200, and you like do a little.
Yeah, we ball up the end of the wire. Yeah, well, it's what you can, if you take wire, round wire, and you heat the end of it, it melts into a ball. So we started like that, threaded the beads on, and then connected it at the top.
Yeah, look at that. Funnily and throwing thread. I like that. Oh, so that's
it isn't. It's a technique called reticulation. That's again originally done in a piece of silver sheet, and technically that process is because gold doesn't react the same way. So you do it with silver, which has a lower melting point and the different alloys in it. And you start with just a sheet or whatever piece, and you heat it until it's almost red hot. And then it's quenched in acid. And you repeat this for about 10 times, because what I'm doing is building up a layer of the fine silver, the pure metal. Every time it's heated and quenched, it builds up a layer on the surface. So then you go in with a very fine torch, almost and a hot torch, and you start heating. And you almost, what happens is that the metal below the surface, the alloy, melts at a lower temperature than the surface. So it starts crumpling. And you could almost use your little torch as a pencil and move it along, and then it creates these waves that you see in there. I never. There you go. So here's coil. And as you can see, it can be just a simple straight bracelet. It's not very clear, but and this for the bracelet, because I wanted it to be heavier, I started off with heavier wire inside and a little bit heavier wire on the outside. And it can get as intricate as this. So the whole center there is.
When you do, those are separate wires. Like sometimes the beading you do the wire and then you weave things in and out. Do you ever use
With in between beads?
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Wires and then you have another
wire. Not quite. It's no, I don't mix it because it's very difficult to mix stones in there because you can't solder then. The stones won't take the heat. So it has to be kept separate. These are just kind of very classic GB earrings. These? Yes, yes, I think I have them. There's another pair there. And that other pair of earrings that you asked me about first, with the coil and the white gold with the big pearls, those were just worn at the Oscars, by the way. No, yeah. Ina Fitchman was wearing them. Yeah. Here's another example. So I can get crazy with the coiling. You know, you start, you kind of have an idea of the shape, but you just don't know where it's gonna go, and you know where it's gonna go after. But the most difficult part, especially in earrings, is if you do one, you have to copy it opposite. And that, yeah, and not always so easy. Here's those earrings that are, these are some of my favorite, one of my favorite, just, yeah, yeah.
I find that if you put this crosswise ivory one, so you do some ivory, do you have any problems with the whole getting ivory over borders and stuff?
Yeah. Because I don't really, you know, if there's ivory, there's a whole bunch of materials over borders. Rubies, rubies from to the US, rubies and jade from Burma. I once inadvertently sent something and forgot, and they were tiny little rubies, but it is in my customs description, and they called me, where are the rubies from? I said, oh, Thailand, because if it's from Burma. Then I had to sign a special declaration called the Jade Act. Coral is another one, and there's lots of coral because I love coral, and I buy it in Italy, and it's what's the word? You're allowed to sell that, but again, I once years ago had a show in the US, and I sent down the work, and the box with the coral in it was stopped. The other boxes came, and that box didn't come. So I called FedEx. What happened to that other box? It went to Fisheries and Wildlife. What? I said, it's jewelry. What? No, it's coral. What is it? In the end, it was just too complicated, and I had them send it back home. So if I have to send anything that I'm a little bit concerned about, I'll label coral as orange agate. Orange agate. I'll just call it something else, because I've done with ivory too. It's you know, white agate. So the bureaucracy gets a little bit crazy sometimes. What else? You're welcome to come up and look. These are also little favorites of mine. So I found these carved green agate frogs, and I made these cufflinks. I'm gonna take one off and pass it around. Mounted on the lily pads, and a smaller lily pad on the other side. This is another ring that was sort of inspired by, it's a little bit of Art Nouveau and a little bit of nature with the vines and yes, yes. Did I? No. I can't take it up. See how heavy it is. Oh, no, I should pass this.
So when you melt the metal, you have to have like the right exhaust control?
Conch shell. Yes, we have a fan. We need an exhaust, yeah.
Because one of my friends years back who took he went to Nova Scotia School of Art and Design, somewhere he took
Right.
a jewelry course.
Yeah.
And he used to make things in his kitchen, and he'd get complaint. He had to be shut down by his landlord for his fellow things.
The fumes and the banging and the, yeah.
Yeah, this is in the cathedral in Barcelona.
Yes,
So
yes,
much nature is beautiful.
yes, yes. Actually, I have a ring that was inspired by Gaudi. See if I can find it for you. Here. So this was after a trip back from Barcelona. It's a green sapphire. But it was inspired by the architect Gaudi.
It's even.
Yes, I'm very detail oriented.
That's very nice.
So
That's
nice, right?
cool.
When you're like this, and it's so like nice for them.
Let's see it on you. Yeah, yeah.
Let's go.
I look, I think I need you, and my thing, my hands, my nails are so bad.
Isn't that something? Again, the details all over.
That's fun. That's an open figure.
That's neat. Look at that, like,
That's
nice
gorgeous.
painting, like,
Sea urchin.
Mm-hmm.
A
So
sea
cool.
urchin. Holy cow.
that, you know, when you first started doing your rings, I went nuts. I thought that was fabulous.
That's beautiful.
I took wire once and I went around a pencil. And I was
Okay.
making foils. I didn't know what to do with them, but I was making them. It was very relaxing.
Oh, wow. I know.
Yeah, there's a lot of gold in there.
Yes.
And I'm wearing okay, here's another one.
They're the cousins, but you.
Yeah.
And this necklace is part of the Royal Canadian Mint, this bracelet is part of the mint collection also, where I did the links as twisted vines. And this is a poppy bud.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The orchid.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Because I think we can wrap up the session.
Yeah, yeah.
We can take up
More
questions and
questions,
comments.
more, yes. One other thing I want to show you that I love on my website is called Gloria's Gallery. So I put pieces in here that once they're sold, because I just find it, it's again, it's an inspiration to look and show people and see all of the, you know, I get very excited when I go and I look and I remember all these, the pieces. So over all these years, they've certainly racked up. Do I sell watches? I haven't, you know, it's the bracelet part that I've done. Yes, yes. These were a fabulous pair of earrings. I had these sapphires that I had bought that were two different colors. Hmm. No. No. And then I had these fabulous pearls that one was bluish and one was gold. And I very often will do earrings that are opposites. Any more questions?
You buy gold
Yes, we do.
from me who has a lot
Yeah.
of broken
Yes.
shoes.
Yes, very often, if you would like to have something redone or buy something, I can buy the gold against that, but I also do buy gold. Yes, doesn't matter what it is, could be broken pieces, because I send it to the refiner. I don't melt it down, but it needs to be refined, so it goes to the refiner.
I mean, I have stuff on another, I think she has one piece that's in order. You know,
So we do repairs and we, well, if you have a lot of golds, you'd be surprised. Today it's a very good time to trade in your gold now, because the gold price is really high. Yes, people are kind of amazed at you know, when you bring in some gold, it adds up very fast, thousands of dollars.
would, let's say, a little chain cost.
It all depends on the weight, so I don't know, you know, how much would it cost, or how much would it cost to sell?
Just, if you were to buy.
Again, I have to see it. It depends on the carat. It depends on the weight of the chain. So that's, yes. Yes, Meg, I think I have some cards that I'll give you after, but just, you know, for that, just call me, make an appointment, and you can bring all your bag of broken pieces.
Super.
Piece of jewelry, but we don't know if the stone is good or not good. Can you tell us that?
Yes.
You charge for appraisal?
If it's lengthy, yes. If it's like, you know, a few minutes, 5 minutes, no.
Let's have reason not to trust Burks or different places.
There's good reason for it, actually.
Really? Well, that's it, I want to bring these broken chains somewhere.
No, it's just, yeah, but you know, well, yeah, you don't know you have to be careful where you're, again, in you know, in dealing with pieces on this level, you really need to have trust. And
Yeah, because
And-
I bought in as 18-karat gold, because anything else makes my ears rot. And then I lost one, so when I'm selling on gold, you know.
Right.
Somebody told me, well, that is an 18-karat, and I'm like, okay, so, you know.
well, most of the time, the jewelry should be stamped with the carat stamp inside. It's not always stamped. We test it at work and to determine what it is. Lots of times I've brought stuff into the refiner that I tested and it looks like it's 18, and they'll test it in a much more stronger machine, and they come back and say, well, it's 16 karat, it's not 18 karat. So in other words, whoever bought it, they were kind of cheating when they manufactured it. And that's, you know, I always, people often come to me and say, I'm going on a trip, and I'm either, you know, I'm going to Sri Lanka, or I'm going to this place, or whatever. What should I buy? Should I get pearls? Should I get stones, sapphires? And my advice has always been, if you want to buy something because you're on vacation, don't spend more than a few $100s as a memento, but never spend a lot of money, because you have no recourse. You don't know what you're getting. Case in point, a client once brought in these black pearls, and she bought them in Vietnam, and she had like 3 strands. She paid $3,000 a strand, and they were not Tahitian. They were dyed Chinese pearls, and they were probably worth about $50 a strand. Same from a long time ago, someone came in with a sapphire that he paid $5,000 for in Burma or wherever. and he wanted it checked, and I brought it to a friend of mine who's a colleague who's a gemologist, and because you need big special equipment for that. And he said it was really tricky because he was just, it's kind of passed all the tests, but he still was suspicious. And then he did another last test and it was synthetic. So it was really worth $25, not $5,000. So that's why I say, and very often people will come in, or they're in Tahiti and they bought these black pearls, and how much did you pay? Okay, I have the same thing here for the same price. So, you end up paying more because you're a tourist and they know you're a tourist, and you pay tourist prices. And then if it's not real, you're stuck with it. So, lesson.
So the pearls my brother bought me in China could be.
Are those the ones you're wearing?
No,
okay.
But he said, because his wife was very practical, is the way to put it. She did a lot of research, and she found out, like, if you went like 2 miles away from the tourist area in Hong Kong, you got way better prices. At least
They know you're a tourist. They know you're.
Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to ask a question about yourself. Over the span of your career, you must have changed. You go from more ornate to minimalist, or
Yeah, there's some change. There is some change as we grow, and our tastes change a little bit. But I think overall, when you look at the whole body of work, even though it's pretty eclectic, there's all kinds of things, but they sort of all have, there's a unity there, and it's a style, and so I've never been really ornate. To me, it has to be wearable, because what's the point of making a piece of jewelry if you're not going to wear it? Keep it in a box, no point. And so that's my practical side. So, and then I'm not fond of the very minimal work that's, a straight line and that's it, because to me, that's nothing. Boring. Okay. Angela, you may have to show it to me here. In terms of cleaning, yes. Pearls in particular should be kept, and not kept in a safe. A lot of people keep pearls in a safe, and it dries them out. They should be wrapped in tissue or in a suede pouch. If you put your pearls on, never spray hairspray or perfume, because the alcohol in it will eat the skin of the pearl, and then once it's gone, it's gone. Pearls have to, generally they're strung on silk thread with knots in between, for 2 reasons: to keep them from knocking against each other, and if the thread breaks, they don't all fall. If you wear your pearls a lot, you should usually have them restrung. They say about once a year, but you'll see when the threads between the knots between them start stretching a little bit and get frayed, it's time to just restring. And that's not an expensive thing to do. The oils. Yeah. In terms of cleaning diamond gold jewelry, the best home remedy is a soft old toothbrush and liquid detergent and warm water, and just try getting in underneath. Don't wear rings to the gym, especially with stones in them. Weights, lifting weights is not very good on gemstones. Diamonds do crack and chip. Other than that,
So the pearls, like if you're very old pearls, which I do have them off that, with and stuff like that, is there any special way to clean them? Just taking
a very damp cloth. If they don't need restringing, take a damp cloth, and just roll them in the cloth. Pearls tend to yellow as they age.
Well, yeah, because these are sort of really like diamonds.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
They're getting pretty yellow.
That's it. So we can wrap up.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Actually, one of the rings I'm wearing is a higher carat, but. Oh, I didn't. You're right. Okay, we have time. Let's. Okay, here's another thing that I'm pretty well known for. I started doing a stacking collection again about 40 years ago, probably. And I started off with 5 different designs, and it's continuously grown over the years. So these are all ones with gemstones in it. So I'm just going to go through fairly quickly. The beauty of these is that it's kind of a never-ending collection, because you can start off with 1, 2, 3, and then continuously add and change the look of your ring. So I do them in 3 colors of gold. They're done with diamonds and with other colored precious stones, sapphires, rubies. I generally don't use, in terms of color, I don't do them with other stones like amethyst or any other stones like that, because they're softer, and sapphire and diamond are the hardest. And when it's a ring, it gets a lot of wear.
Do you have any men's jewelry?
Yep. Yes, I do. Hang on, let me see if I have. Here's the men's collection.
Oh, nice. People still wear shirts today.
Not many, unfortunately. I think it's such a great look. Lots of bands, stacking rings for men as well. Yep, yep. So I rarely say no to a challenge. Angela, should we wrap up? We're gonna close the Zoom. I have, but I've repaired my glasses because the temple broke, so we added a piece of silver here. Yeah, yeah. Yes. No, thank you. It was a pleasure and lots of fun.
Yeah, they used to.
Angela, could you stop share?
Thank you so much.
You're very
This
welcome.
wonderful.
Here's a, okay. But you can